Hey Bale, welcome to a brand new GameMaker tutorial series. I'm gonna make a tutorial series here where I am going to show you how to make one way to make a platformer 2D side-scrolling in GameMaker. I'm using Professional Edition and I'll just target the Windows platform, but I'm not gonna make a full game here. I'm just gonna give you a sort of engine for this to work on, and I'm gonna do it differently, like from the last series I made. Back then I made a series where I was sort of before I'm continuing, just press. I have put a annotation if you want to skip the introduction here, because I'm gonna explain things here. But it will last series I had sort of like, I did things while I was speaking, and that took a hell of a lot of time, and you didn't really get a lot out of it. So now I have prepared some stuff I'm going to speak about, and then I will skip to what I've built on top of that, and in that way graduate through this. So if we start over here with the sprites, I right now only have 3 sprites. This one, the trigger square here, you don't have to think about right now because that's not a part of this tutorial. But the solid square and the hazard square is our 2 main sprites we're going to use right now. The solid square is a blue with 50% transparency, and the hazard square is a red one, and they're just 32 by 32 pixels. So that's the sprites. And then the objects. We got a global controller, which right now is set to persistent, so it can follow you through the game. It will be one controller, an object that keeps a lot of track of a lot of things. But right now it only have like some variables, some global variables with some controls in it. The next one is down here. We have a folder called parents. And I base a lot of when I make sort of these kind of games, I use a lot of parents because like I have this parent solid, par solid, which is right now it's visible, but when I'm done with making graphics and stuff, I will just turn it off, and its def is -100, and there's no code in it because it's something we use in other objects. And then we have par entity, which is sort of all non-solid objects, like which have gravity and stuff like that. So the player will have this parent, all enemies will have this parent, but I will come back to that in a moment. And all stuff like that will have things you can move around and stuff. And there's some code in here as a standard. We have in setup, we have some variables that is global or not global, but they are used in all these entities. Like we have gravity, which is a standard set to 1. We've got friction horizontally, which is set to 1, 2, and 1, And HP, which is standard, is a very high number because I don't want it to. Right now it's sort of invincible, and then you can just set a value if you need to have a destructible, like the player have a lot less health, And max HP is like the start HP, so if it heals up, it can heal to this limit. B speed and H speed is vertical and horizontal speed, and right now they start off at 0, and then we'll add to them depending on how you move. And in air is a variable to check if the entity is in air or not. And then we've got in the end step we have the physics, and the first block of code up here is moving horizontally. It is a loop checking, repeating the same amount as the absolute H speed. So if it's -4 or 4, it will always turn out 4 iterations. And then it checks if there is the pixel to the side where if the H speed is 4, it will check 1 pixel forward. If it's -4, it will check 1 pixel behind. That's what the sign thing does. It takes if you have a value, if it's -4, it will take -1. If it's -3, it will take -1. If it's 0, it will take 0, and if it's if it's not my negative, or if it's a positive number, then it will take 1. That's what sign does, if you didn't know. So it checks 1 pixel to either side of it, the object, and if it meets a par solid, if it meets our a solid object there, then it will check again to see if there is 1 to the side and 1 up, y minus 1, because that's slope walking, then it can walk up some slopes, and that is only if it finds something there, or if in air is true, or if our player is in there, or entity is in the air, then it will stop, because then it's met a wall and the h speed will be 0. Else it will, if it's walking up a slope, it will walk 1 to the side and 1 up minus, and then decrease the h speed. Or if it was the first iteration here, if it was just walking to the side, it will just move 1 to the side. And then it's repeating the speed, so it will check pixel by pixel, but it will check the full speed. The next block of code here is 2 things. One here is friction, where it just checks if the h speed is bigger than 0, then it will decrease the h speed with the after moving with the friction, or else it will, if it's less than 0, then it will add it, so it will be going towards 0. It will not go across. That's what this max and min functions does. And vertical speed is plus g here. That's just the gravity working, that it is adding gravity to the vertical speed. And then we have the same function up here almost, but just for vertical movement, and there we don't have this extra iteration, but we only have like, oh sorry, now I am currently at my grandma's house and she got clocks everywhere, not synced up completely, so they are like cooking now and then. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so it checks for the vertical speed instead, still the absolute of that, and then it just checks if 1 pixel at a time, like this up here, but simpler. And the last one here just checks if it's in air or not, so it's ready for the next round, next step. Good. The next parent here is par player, which is just to, if you have multiple different kind of players you want to use, then it's good to have a parent, so you can refer to the same object but still know you refer to the player. And that just has a parent, it doesn't have any code in it, and it has a parent entity in it. There's the next one. I hope it's not too annoying. And then we have par enemy, which doesn't have any code in it either, but that's just every enemy that can hurt you in some way. So we can handle them too, like if you touch an enemy, you will get hurt. And then we have par hazard, which is a little different. It's I'm using normally the term hazard as objects, enemies, where 1 touch will kill you, like lava or something. So we have also using the parent as a par entity on this one, so that will be pushed through. But we have some code in the create event which will first inherit from the parent entity parent, but then it will change gravity to be 0 and friction to be a lot, so that the friction thing is not really needed, but so that it doesn't aren't affected by gravity. We can change that again in the normal objects, because normally I want these objects to be sort of solid, like spikes and stuff like that. We don't want them to. We want them to be able to hang in the ceiling without problems. And the reason I have like the images on these is that when we didn't add them to the room, like this one, you see we have this room here. We can just add all the blue as all the solids, and then we can after that use a tile set or something on top of it. And I can use, like, if I need a platform, I can stretch it to that length and stuff like that. If I had like an object for each image, then we couldn't stretch it at the same sort of way. You can always like load in a big background image that has the level drawn on it, and then you can just place the blue and reds on top of it, or what is dangerous and what is not. So I can draw the level here in Photoshop and then load it in, and then I can place these on top of it, so is as it should be. Good. And then we got object game controller here, which got some code in it. And this will be like object global controller. Actually, it should be persistent too, but follow the player around. So if there's no, if you're not in the game, then it will be deleted. But it will make that later. That's not important right now. But we got some variables, and they're not important right now. But it's view handling, and we'll not do that in this episode either. And it is it's view handling, and I will not go into depth with that. And the same in here, it will have some view handling stuff, but don't think about that. It's nothing right now. And then we got trigger, which is connected to the trigger square up here, and we'll not do this episode. So that's the main setup, and as it looks right now, we have a view, so it's 640 by 480, the size of the screen and stuff. And that's how it looks right now. So we need in this video I will then build a player, a simple player, and a enemy, and yeah, that will be about that for now. We'll not make, I think I'll make some tiles too, so you can see how I can do with the blue and reds, but that will be that. Okay, so let's skip to the future. Great, and now I've added a little more to the game here. I added some more sprites in a player folder. So, if you guessed it, I have added a player and a player object, and that's about what's new here. Also, have added in the backgrounds here a test tile spikes, and that's just a image I can use to put over the spikes. And as you can see in here, where the red field is, I have put the spikes. And the images here is just a quick character I used. You're welcome to use him if you want to. He is quickly done. It's not something I have used a lot of time on making, especially not the in-air animation. That's just 3 frames. But it will do for our little project here. So what did I do? Blah. What did I do in this project, in this player? As I said before, he would be he will get a parent par player, and also have given him the mask up here, which is just to slim him down, make it more precise with these collisions and stuff like that. And I will talk about that in a little moment. In the end step event, where we have something in the parent 2, some code, we inherit what happened there, and then we have some sprite changing here. And what it does is simply it checks whether the right keys are checked, and whether he's in air or not, to define whether what sprite he got. So if he's not in air, if either both left and right is pressed or none of them is pressed, and if he not already got the sprite, then it will change to sprite player stand. If he is not in the air, if either left or right is pressed, so he is moving, and he is not having that sprite already, he will use the sprite player run and have an image index of 0, the same up here. And if he is in air, then he will have the air sprite player air sprite, and if his vertical speed is less than -1, then he will have an image index of 0. If it's bigger than 1, then he will have an image index of 2, and if it's between -1 and 1, then he will have of 1. And then in the last bit of code here, we will set his image X scale depending of which direction he is moving. So if his horizontal speed is bigger than 0, then it will be 1, and if it's smaller than 0, then it will change to -1, just to make him turn around, actually. And then in the step event here, we control him, and that's pretty simple too. If you press the jump key, as defined in our global controller here, I think it's seed right now, a jump key and he's not in air, then he will have a vertical speed of -15, making him jump. If you are pressing right and not left, and his horizontal speed is less than 10, then it will add 2, but to have maximum 10 in speed. And the same the other way around. If you press left and not right, then it will just be the same, just negative instead. And the reason I write it like this is that you can have like objects in the game that will give him a speed boost. But if we do not have this piece of code up here, then he will always reset it when you're moving to 10 as max. Whereas you want him to like gradually slow down to that point because of his friction instead. And if we just have this up here, then it will, if his current speed is 9.5 and it will then add 2, then it will become 11.5, and we cannot really use that because then it's inconsistent with his maximum speed. But I have added 10 as his maximum speed, and you can just change this value, and the same with jump, you can change that too. And then we have, if he collides with the parent hazard, then for now I'll just make him start over at the beginning, where he is spawned in the start. But you can have him die in different ways here. So that's our player, so let's check it out here as I speak about some other things, because and this is I think a very important lesson that a lot of games make wrong when they are creating a game, and I really want you to remember this. As you saw, or as you can see up here actually in the corner here, the mask is pretty slim. It's not like covering him, the whole character. It's some sort of the middle of him. And the spikes are going from outside the red field here. And that's because when you are programming a game, you don't want the player to feel that he has been cheated in any way. If he dies, he wants to die because he was bad at the game. So if normally you often just use square masks for stuff, but if I walk like here or jumping over the spikes, and the corners are touching, even though I'm not touching a spike, but the corners are touching, then my character is not touching it, but the masks are intervening with each other, and you will die. So I make these masks slimmer than the objects in themselves, because rather that you can go here and I'm touching it now, the spikes, but I'm not dying. Better be forgiving than make the player be angry because they didn't really should be dying because of not touching the right things and stuff. So that's a big lesson, and you should really think about it when making games. Better be forgiving than not. And the other thing, the thing I explained earlier, because I have already placed and I will just quickly show you here. Because I have already placed a tile, and I just go into tiles and add the background here and drag it down to where I want it. Then I can go into parents now, and normally I'll just do this when the level is done, I'll not do it while testing. I will not do it with solid yet because we don't have any ground objects, we don't have any tiles with ground yet, but this is just for showing how it works. When it's not visible normally, then you can see here it's a little dark in the button because it's the blue is still overlaying it, but they will disappear too. So in this way you can they are still killing you, the spikes, but now you can have them here without having all this bridge. And when you have placed the platforms he is jumping around on and stuff like that, you will be able to, you can turn off the blue as a visibility too. So this is actually what I have today. I'll put down the links both for the start of the project and for this end result for this part below. And this is a series I want to continue. I need to see how, if people who are actually want to watch it, and if you are, so write in the comments if you find this good or bad, if I should change up some things, making it shorter, longer, more explaining, less explaining. you know, I cannot fit everybody's needs, but feel free to write me either in comments here on Twitter, and then I can try to teach you all that I know. My idea for next time is to work on a trigger system, which is something I didn't use in the start when I created games, and this is an idea. I haven't tested it yet, and in general I do not test this I cannot test these things before I start making the video, when I'm changing stuff during the videos, but I will say if I change something. But it's a trigger system I have thought of using, and I think it would work well, and I will teach that to you next time. But of course, if no one is gonna watch this, I'll maybe try to think again if I should do this or not. But I think I'll make at least one more. But this is for this time. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and again, comment, rate it, like, dislike, so I have an idea of if this is usable or not. And I'll see you next time. Bye.